I'm going to get go. Sì, cazzo, ndlela ngisaka ebantwini uku-announce umuntu uhambe ngemoto esilva wa-track nibona ukuthi uba eyi-40 fake ngaleli jump cap
Sure, 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 sure. One, one, two, one, two. One, 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 one. One, two. Amandla. Awethu. Natla. Aruna. Oyiphaya. Indlela esihambayo. Amandla. Lento esiyenzayo. Lento esiyenzayo. Asina. Esiyenzayo. ebunzimeni ba esandla sami ububa Oliver Tambuba wena sebambu ngasiyekeli ebunzimeni ba esandla sami ububa Oliver Tambuba wena sebambu ngasiyekeli
Nangifisa ukubonga i-initiative nje kakhulu. Siyabonga, ngiyafisa siqale. Besicelile ukuthi kube u9 kodwa ngiya-understanda ukuthi khani amalunga esishayamthetho amele abasebenzi izolo esuka la besayokwenza omunye umsebenzi kwaqedeka late. Ngangafike-ke ekuseni kakhulu. Abanye bathe sebephumulile bona bebesasebenza. Kodwa-ke ngiyacela siqale, ngiyafisa samukele sekela somlomo uVelase ekhona phakathi kwethu. Siyabonga. Siyafisa ukwamukela udadewethu MEC for Transport and Community Safety and Liaison esifundazweni Mabhele. Siyabonga kakhulu. Also siyafisa ukwamukela members of the provincial legislature in KwaZulu-Natal. Simbonile usihlalo wa quality of life. Namanye ama members akhona khona udadewethu uLusiwe Ngubane, udadewethu uNozipho Mavuso. Siyambona u-Honorable Kunene, u-Honorable Payipheli, bese kubo Honorable uMagalela Gaso njengengonyama. Siyafisa singene kwi-program. Siyacela ama-rapporteurs abe esondela ngala so that we also kind of buy time. Siyafisa also ukubonga kuma-shop stewards akhona that heeded to the call mesicela ukuthi awaba yingxenye yokuzohlala kwesishayamthetho. Oh, also Honorable Mutli, my apologies, and Honorable Governor Ules. Thank you so much, my fellow brothers. Also siyafisa nokubonga staff sasishayamthetho led by uNobhala la eduze kwami. Thank you so much for the work we have done so far. Sibona kuhambeka. Kodwa siyabonga also the leadership of ama federations. Ngaphandle kwawo mhlawumbe lo msebenzi ngabe unzima. Ngiyafisa nje ukudlulisa the gratitude. Ngiyafisa also in acknowledging, acknowledge the Honorable Mncwango umntaka Mazulu. Also no Chief Whip of Ishayamthetho. Namanye amalunga mengabe ekhona engawabonanga. Kodwa ngiyafisa also sibonge siphinde sibingelele ku-District Director waka Health umama uHlophe. Siyabonga Thumbeza ngokuthi ube nathi. And other senior managers akhona from various government departments. Ngifisa ke siye kuma report ama commissions. Ngifisa siqale ngo commission 1. Ngiyacela sicele u-rapporteur from commission 1 uCharles Zikhali. Ngiyacela Ngwane. Uze khona la. Ngiyacela ungabe unyuka. Ngiyacela other rapporteurs as well mhlambe azohlala la ukuze maqeda omunye sisondelane kusibe sedu ukubamba isikhathi.
I like it.
Mandla. Qina msebenzi qina. Qina msebenzi qina. Viva Kosatu, viva. Viva Natu, viva. Viva Fedusa, viva. Mandla. Wethu. Mandla. Members, greetings. Honorable members, umphakathi, and leadership in general. I greet you all. As comrades know, we're in the 2022 Workers' Parliament, Bahlangana Community Hall eSikhaleni in Mhlathuze Municipality. We feel honored to be hosted under this theme, Uniting Workers to Defend Collective Bargaining and Jobs whilst advancing improved labor laws. Now I'll be reporting on the first commission, which involved Office of the Premier, COCTA, Treasury, and Community Safety and Liaison. Without wasting further or wasting time, comrades, I'll start with the first one, which was a transversal resolutions. Noting the absence of senior departmental representatives during commissions, it was resolved that all departmental HODs and senior management must prioritize and attend all commissions during sexual parliaments. As well, noting the absence of relevant reports presented by the departments during the commissions, it was also resolved that the commission's agenda must be forwarded and received by the federations for their inputs prior to the sitting of the sectoral parliament. Further, it was resolved that there must be an additional item on the agenda which seeks a report presentation on the responses to the previous year's resolution as a way forward for discussions. Noting the unfilled budgeted posts in government departments, it was resolved that there must be a lifting of all budgeted positions and HODs must be allowed to make final decisions to cut low process of approval to improve on deliver. Of course, this was seeking to limit the amount of red tape. Now, with regards to the Office of the Premier, we have the following resolutions. The first, noting that economic concerns over the possible job losses because of the movement of the Richards Bay Harbour, it was resolved that the Office of the Premier, in consultation with the Community Development, must intervene in the movement of harbour to protect jobs. Noting the absence of a clear policy that governs the appointment and duration of work experience for government volunteers, we resolved that the OTP Office of the Premier must formulate a clear and precise policy that will govern the appointment of government volunteers across all departments. Noting the slow progress in the awarding of internship program by the OTP in the previous years, as presented, it was resolved that the OTP must revitalize the internship program to ensure that the youth gets the necessary opportunities and experience. Noting the problematic centralized process of filling vacant posts in departments, it was resolved that the Office of the Premier, in consultation with the Department of Treasury, must revise the policy which allows for junior level posts to be decentralized to speed up the process. Noting that the young people living in the streets who are involved in drugs and in criminal activities it was resolved that the OTP must conduct a feasibility study to determine the number of abandoned buildings that can accommodate the children or the young people, and must also formulate programs to keep them busy and off the streets. Of course, this was noting the fact that our municipalities have a number of abandoned buildings. Moving on to the Department of Local Government and Traditional Affairs, COCT. Resolutions as follows. Noting that a local government summit did not take place in the year 2021 as was previously planned, and resolved upon during the previous commissions. That said, it was resolved that the court must organize a local government summit by no later than the first 2 weeks of July 2022. Of course, comrades will note that the issue of mass dismissals comes in, hence the request or the resolution on the job summit. The department further must conduct investigations and submit the reports on these mass dismissals by June of 2022 on the rapid municipalities, including Newcastle and Uku, just to name two. This investigation must also conclude a comparison report that will outline what a functional municipality is versus a non-functional one. Court must play an active role in the handling of municipal disputes involving municipal employees. And all mass dismissals that have won arbitrations must be reinstated in all municipalities, regardless of whether there is pending reviews. Noting some of the COCTA resolutions that were not responded to from the previous 2021 Workers' Parliament, it was resolved that the department must provide a written response to the outstanding resolutions and submit the report by the first week of June 2022. Noting the continued rise in the killing of traditional leaders and line workers, it was resolved that the department must investigate the motive behind the killings of traditional leaders in attempts to stop the killings. It was further resolved that a task team, inclusive of organized labor, must be appointed to investigate the killing of frontline workers in line of duty. The workers must have institutional life cover that is subsidized, that will be activated should they be killed in the line of duty. Of course, a relevant risk assessment will, of course, guide the department in this. Noting the slow progress in the replacement of Izinduna as their appointments are 60% controlled by Amakos, it was resolved that COCTA must intervene in the unfair dismissals of appointments of traditional leaders. Noting the continued exploitation of EPWP workers and CWP workers, it was noted, inclusive of community health care workers, it was resolved that EPWP and the aforementioned should be a temporary relief. Those programs should be a temporary relief to employees, and if still needed, then they must be compensated the full amount as appointed workers. This was, of course, looking at the pay difference between employees appointed under the EPWP program versus employees who are permanently employed, that pay difference. Noting the continued shortage and absence of water supply in deep rural communities, it was resolved that COCTA must fast-track the process of installing boreholes in deep rural areas, in household, schools, and in other facilities where water is essential for operations. This would also include clinics and hospitals, etc. Noting the restrictions in the amount of overtime hours that can be worked by employees and the continued lack of funds for duties performed beyond working hours, it was resolved that the municipalities must comply with the government policies and allow workers to be remunerated per the policy stipulations. This, of course, would be inclusive of collective agreements, which effectively are contracts between the workers and the employer. Particularly if you look at the local government bargaining sector in that division, or KwaZulu-Natal division, it's contractually agreed that there will be no limit on emergency overtime worked by emergency services workers. So that resolution seeks to address that as collectively agreed. Noting the fruitless expenditure created when workers are on suspension and getting paid while sitting at home, it was resolved that all suspensions over 60 days should be lifted if there are no, if there is no prima facie, pardon me, if there is no sign of a conclusion or progress in the matter to mitigate against fruitless expenditure. Of course, this was noting the plus 40 million rands that was spent across departments on employees that are on precautionary suspensions. Of course, noting that particularly municipal police services are established in terms of the SAPS Act. Commission resolved as well that in terms of reporting lines, they must be in accordance with that particular piece of legislation, and they must report, business units within municipalities must report directly to municipal managers or city managers. Moving on to Department of Community Safety and Liaison, we had the following resolutions. Noting the continued killings of traditional leaders, once again, it was resolved that the Department of Community Safety must fast-track the process of appointing security for the protection of traditional leaders. Traditional leaders must be protected upon resuming duty. Noting that there are plenty of drug dealers roaming around in the streets in our communities, it was resolved that the Department of Community Safety and Liaison, working together with SAPS, must conduct frequent and unannounced stop and search campaigns to find and confiscate drugs and weapons, search and seizures. Also, that absence of police stations in deep rural areas and the poor condition of the few stations that are in rural areas. It was resolved that the department, through consultation with National Department, must bring police stations closer to the people where they are a walkable distance. It was resolved that police stations must be fully equipped with the necessary tools and resources, i.e. vehicles, for maximum community service. Noting that the need to capacitate senior level management employees in the department on their role and responsibilities, it was resolved that capacitation must take place annually for senior level management for improved performance. Of course, we're noting the number of cases that are there, especially unresolved cases, and the fact that capacitation was cited on the report. Hence, this particular resolution had to be taken. Noting that there are vacant posts in the department, it was resolved that all critical posts must be filled. Noting that resolutions are not tracked properly during the year, it was resolved that there must be a coordination to ensure monitoring of resolutions. There must be a coordination to ensure even MECs partake in the commissions. Comrades will remember that we were informed that we had senior level employees with authority that would partake in our audible. Noting that there are vacant posts in departments, it was resolved that all critical posts must be filled. Noting that oh, hey, got your job. Noting the continued rise of crime in the province and in the country as a whole, it was resolved that the province devise solid plans on how they will tackle the issue of crime. It was further resolved that the department must engage in a benchmarking exercise with other countries that continue to enjoy crime-free zone. It was also resolved that the fight against crime must be a community effort to protect pre-starting from home, schools, and into communities at large. Parents must also get involved, whilst a proper risk assessment be conducted to ensure that the crime is kept. The labor inspector must step in to assist to identify threats in the workspaces. It has resolved that employees that are attacked and killed in the line of duty must be compensated and covered within the workplace, or cover within the workplace must be established and activated. Noting that government organizational structures are not updated, it has resolved that all outdated government organizational structures must be updated to prevent increase of head count and improvement of service delivery. Charles Nwazikali of COSATU Young Workers was presenting on the first commission. Thank you.
Bheka. Siyabonga kakhulu. Ikhona nje indawana engifisa sidlule kancane kuyona. The commissions recommends. Then ekugcineni we resolve. Ngenzela ukuthi okwamanje some recommendations that are being brought to us by the commissions. Bese ke singene kwi item whereby we are saying those recommendations yikuphi esi-resolver to kind of implement. Ngiyafisa ke sithathe the second commission siyacela Lonwabo Kakani opedla ne uzokhuluma nathi. Ngiyacela siu-observe futhi no 10 minutes. Kodwa ke i-commission yokuqala ibile nokuphazamiseka. Kodwa ibe within.
Mandla. Benamsebenzi eqina. Mayibuye Afrika mayibuye. Ayiwule Afrika ayiwule. Comrade Program Director, amalunga onke shayamthetho, ihambeli zethu zonke ngiyanibingelela. Amandla. Ngizoboleka lapha entethweni yesiXhosa ukuze ngigcine ngenze ixesha elifuna uyena uprogram director uhlalo wecommittee elibaleke kakhulu. Ngithi sihlalo ndivumele ngithi ngangane ntsibazayo okusho ukuthi ke all protocol observed. Siselapho nje futhi nginifundise ukuthi umbengo omde uyawucima umlilo. I won't be very long. Let's go straight and report or either table the resolution or either the engagement held yesterday for the commission number 2, which talks of education, health, and social development. I just will start noting. We'll start by noting. Thank you, Slalo, for cushioning us that we must not just say a resolution, but this is the recommendation that were indulged by this particular commission. Firstly, we're going to deal with the Department of Education. It was noted that that termination of President's Educators Assistant Program contractors exhibits unemployed among youth. The recommendation that was taken, the President's Educators Assistance Program be made permanent. It was noted that the Department of Education's enlisting of private legal practitioner to handle employees' relations worsen the strains on the insufficient budget of the department. It was suggested the department utilizes the internal employed legal practitioners to save money. It was noted that the process of teachers' employment is centralized to districts, which makes it difficult for unemployed qualified individual to access jobs opportunity in other districts. It was recommended that all entry-level posts be advertised in a bulletin at least once a year to give equal opportunity to all unemployed qualified individuals who are interested to apply. Again, Commissioner, it has noted that the recent floods have had a disadvantaging effect on many schools' infrastructure, especially water, causes learners to register long absenteeism. Laphayana emakhaya siyayibona ukuthi isikhahlameza kanjani nasendaweni eziselokishini. Lento yokuthi i-infrastructure ingabibikho. It was recommended that the Department of Education makes provision for infrastructure renewal, including provisions of JoJo tanks to maintain water provision in schools or in all schools. Lendaba yabanzi bakwethu ibalekile kakhulu ukuthi ibe yenye yezinto esoyinotha kakhulu. It was not. I will move to Department of Health that we have made it to be part 2 or point number 2. It was noted that the negative attitude of health worker practitioners displayed towards patient, thereby neglecting the respect to confidentiality. It was advised that the Department of Health provide intensive training to healthcare practitioners on respecting confidentiality. It was noted that some sections of society, including employers and CCNA, which occasionally upholds the employer's decision to expel workers who refuses to take vaccination. I think this is one of the burning issue currently, the workers that are faced, and it was advised that the Department of Health sufficiently elucidates the society on the principles that vaccination is constitutionally non-mandatory. Angeke sibe siyixoxa lena ayixoxisi kodwa ke esikuthumela nje kubaleke ukuthi i-vaccine nangolwesine nangecawe nangomgqibelo ayikazi ukuba ibe mandatory mayihlale lapha kwi-constitution njengoba injalo. It was noted that the Department of Health provides student assistance to prospective doctors, and these persons spend many months without being placed properly in a government institutions. It was advised that the department create a system through which it ensures proper placement of medical students who have completed their studies. Ngiyacela ungiprotect Hlalo, i-echo iyangishangisha ama areas. Lento yongalali. Right, it was also it was noted that the Department of Health failure to adhere to the circular regulating employees transfer by only considering those who wishes to take cross transfers. It was advised that the department adhere to the circular by allowing employees wishing to take a straight transfers. It was noted that community health workers are not employed permanently. It was advised that community health workers be permanent or be employed permanent. It was noted that some of the areas in a province lack sufficient ambulances services. Imoto nje zokuthi usizwe la uyayifonela namhlanje ngeke ize ifike. Bazobuza ukuthi usushonile yini. It was noted that the department issues sufficient availability of ambulance services in the province. Sorry for that mistake, it was advised. Then it was noted that the department provides report written training to senior management of the department. It was advised that other areas of training be provided for senior management. I think that was talked to a number of issues, that even the issue of training of the management in terms of the issues of the labor, because those issues are very, very critical. Management sometimes lack interest or either knowledge in terms of understanding how labor issues are being conducted. I think in conclusion, Chair, we indulge in the point number 3, Department of Social Development. I think because if we have advised any resolution in this particular parliament, we wish that if it's not adhered to or either is not resolved, bring it back as it is. It was noted that corruption is rife in government, and Department of Social Development is more susceptible to these social problems. It was advised that the department and state utilize available resources to root out corruption in government. It was noted that many people have been destitute in society owing to various social challenges. It was advised that the department pens and escalate the campaign for comprehensive social security. Manbulele, enkosi.
Siyabonga kakhulu as we welcome the presentation or the report from the commission. Ngiyasiye kweyesithathu. May I then invite to the podium Mr. Dumsan Kumar. Olas.
Mphathi wohlelo indaba ezitha singabakho sonke la madeba nomvelase kusekela somlomo ungaphansi kwakho mvelase ngqongqoshe nawe ungaphansi kwakhe lapha esimi khona ngoba bethi sesikhaleni senkosi ucetshwayo uMagwegwana ngogwegwa bakayise uma amadlagusha emthatha emva kwempi yesasandlwana ngoba uyena yedwa wanqoba, uyathanda awuthandi, uyena yedwa wanqoba amadlagusha, bonke abanye abahlula. Indaba ezitha ningangishayi basebenzi, ukuthi ngiyokhuluma ngelinye ilanga ukuthi kungani isihlalo Indaba ezitha ngimnqoma, kuyovela sihlalo ngelinye ilanga. We are in commission number 3, of which that commission was a social protection, human and social development cluster 2. The Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, and Department of Human Settlement. So the commission noted that all the issues about the insourcing of those workers who are temporary workers. All these departments, they have got a clause that they said they are going to insource those people or those workers to be permanent. So the commission look at this aspect. The commission noted that there is no time frame for these departments that when they are going to insource those workers to be permanent and get all benefit so that they can be sustainable and can get whatever is the benefit of a worker in South Africa. So the commission recommended that the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture must ensure that the major finalization must be done before the 31st of December 2022, so that all insourcing can be explored and implemented immediately. The second one, the commission noted that while the investigation have been conducted to the perpetrators has been found guilty and transgression internally, no arrests have been affected or had been made. Secondly, in some cases, the perpetrators resign from their position, and sooner the person found that is guilty but is resigning from the department, of which means the internal process is not going to be fruitful. So the commission recommended that the government department must follow up all cases that have been investigated and refer to the SAPS. So that prosecution must be go ahead. That person must not vanish, because after he resigned, it looked like all cases have been vanished. Nothing has been taken seriously. Secondly, the government must ensure that perpetrators that have been found guilty must be suspended immediately. Ngiyazi ukuthi uphathi wohlelo uma ngathi kuma-union abasuspende bangaholi abasebenzi, but must be suspended immediately. The third one, the commission recommended that after all internal processes have been exhausted and the perpetrators is found guilty, they must be blacklisted so that you can change the department. Ngivela sisekela somlomo namhlanje ungithole ngikwa-human settlement ngimoshe, kuyaba kusasa usungithola senga-sports and culture ngimoshe, kuyaba usungithola sengiya-human settlement futhi. So they must be blacklisted so that they can't get another job to the department. Furthermore, the commission noted that there is issue of whistleblowers. There was a touching story, Chair, yesterday from the department that some of the witness, or I can't mention the name, was shot in Pietermaritzburg while he was going to testify about somebody who was doing a misconduct in the department. We look at that issue seriously because I remember, Chair, you raised the point that even the family of a whistleblower must be protected. But through that, we haven't got those powers. We never reach any resolution. But the whistleblowers must be protected so that no one will be scary to go and testify. Because when we want to root out the corruption, we must be very, very firm, but we must take this matter seriously. The commission noted that while the whistleblowers and witnesses do not have sufficient protection of their anonymity in the workplace and are often exposed, are subjected to victimization. The commission recommended that the government must put in place effectively whistleblowers and witness protection policy to protect whistleblowers from those who are going to harm them or endanger them. The other one is the commission noted that the merger of a former Department of Arts and Culture and Sports and Recreation from the new Department of Sport. Arts and culture will not result in a loss of jobs. I think the combination of these two departments, because we were worried about those people, because you can't have got the two HODs in the same department. If these departments are combined together, what is going to happen to those other people who have got a similar position? So the department ensures us that there will be no employee who is going to lose his or her job. So they alluded that if there is any change, the government have got the policy that those people are going to be put in somewhere else. The commission recommended that the formation of the new Department of Sports, Arts and Culture must be also resulted in the creation of the new employment opportunities. That was what I was explaining. Now, this commission was having got that task because the two departments is coming together now. The sports and culture and the human settlement is coming together to form one department. So now we are in the human settlement department because we differentiate those two departments. The commission noted that the Department of Human Settlement continue to outsource cleaning and security services in all aspects that was implemented in 2021 in Workers' Parliament at Alfred Duma Municipality. The resolution says the department must not outsource these two workplace, that is cleaning and security services. But the department yesterday said already insourcing those two departments, the cleaning sector and the security services. But on the resolution said they mustn't do that, but they did. So the commission recommended that the formation of the new department, the commission reaffirms that the resolution taken in 2021 to insource all services in the government department and SOEs must be done immediately. Secondly, the commission noted that that is the last intervention, noted that some of head of departments did not participate in the commission for various reasons, and noted that the absence of the head of the head of the department in commission loses the resources persons. The third one, the commission noted that further of the absence of the MECs from the commission deprived the commission's information and resources. So the commission recommended that the speaker must investigate this conduct by some of head of departments that are not respecting the commission or taking the commission seriously. Secondly, the commission that are not attending the executives commission must be mandatory. The last one, the commission noted that human settlement built temporary residential structures for the victims of flood that have devastated KwaZulu-Natal recently. The Commission recommended that the Department of Human Settlement must provide a progressive report on the construction of the temporary residential structures and indicate when the construction of that structures will be completed. Secondly, the Commission recommended that by giving the changed climates of global warming, and it is recommended that the Department of Human Settlement explore a new ways of housing construction in order to minimize the loss and injuries when this extreme weather phenomenon like flood, storm, halt occur. The last one. The Commission noted that the changing climate and global warming that resulted in natural disasters, the Commission recommended that all government departments must allocate a constituency budget for disasters.
Siyabonga kakhulu. Ngicela sithathe the last presentation on commissions. Nobuhle. Lekom.
Greetings to the program director, members of the legislature, the leadership of the federation, comrades, and also the community that are here. But especially I want to greet the honorable workers of parliament that are here. Dumelan Bayetu. Nikai. Thank you. No, I'm here to report on Commission 4, which was dealing about economic development, tourism, and environmental affairs, transport, public works, agriculture, and rural development on engagement that we're dealing about yesterday. The department represented, and then the discussion that were held, especially in EDTA, there were concerns that were raised on the issue of intents. Then the Commission felt that the intent should be absorbed by the department because it felt that those intents are used, but after some time, they are left without having jobs. On transport, the discussion, it was noted that the Department of Transport will employ the EPWP, RTI summons to process. The process will start in July to assist in the issuing of summons for traffic offences committed. Labour unions welcome the planned EPWP opportunity, but wanted to see the results of it. Repairing of potholes was an issue raised for the departmental attention. On the discussion with Public Works, concerns were raised that there does not seem to be any provision for people beyond the age of 35 to benefit from the EPWP program. It was also noted that the department is running induction programs to councillors to monitor the EPWP projects, because it's where we realize that most of these projects, they are lacking because some of our councillors, they don't have an induction or better understanding on how to deal with those projects. On agriculture and rural development, the department has still not achieved the required percentage in employing people with disability. As we all know that there is a percentage that is needed for each and every department. The department has employed 13 people with disability, which is 0.45%, and it is short of 57 to achieve the national target. The department plans to hold provincial summits on farm workers and farm dwellers during the month of June. The resolution that were taken on the Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs, it was noted that the department has a 2-year graduate internship program. It's also resolved that should there be vacancies available, the department should prioritize them on permanent posts if they do meet all the requirements that are needed. On the Department of Transport, We note the poor state of road infrastructure, which we realize it is a thorny issue for each and everyone, because once you hit a pothole, you are on your own. It was also resolved that the department should put more money in road maintenance and also to implement a monitoring tool to check the standard of work done when road construction tenders have been awarded. And also, the department should wait a lot of loads must be regulated so that we will be able to understand, because most of the infrastructure, especially when we look to the roads, it's where we're having a problem. You'll find that there's a road which is less than 5 years, but that road is already damaged. On the Department of Public Works, we note that the EPW programs, which are not closely monitored. So it was resolved that the department should involve the councillors in monitoring the EPWP programs and also to include our inductions. Also, it was resolved that all the government departments benefiting from EPWP should extend to the people beyond the age of 35 years, since they are the ones who are taking care of their families, especially women who are caring for children at home. Because when we're listening, each and every department who's having this program of EPWP, they are having those programs and also able to give job opportunities, but only to the age of 18 up to 35. So we are resolving that each and every department that is having this program must extend from, above the age of 35 years. Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, we note that the department support farmers with establishment of agricultural infrastructure. It was also resolved that the department should also assist the emerging farmers, those that are starting, with financial management skills so that they will be able to continue with the work that they've started. We also note that the department will hold a provincial summit on farm workers and farm dwellers during the month of June this year in 2022. It was also resolved that the labor union should also be invited so that they will be able to listen to the concern and also the challenges that the dwellers and also the farmers will be able to raise on that particular summit. I submit, Chairperson. Thank you so much.
Siyabonga kakhulu ngawo wonke ama-reports, ama-commissions. Ngiyafisa ukudlulisa ixoliso enginazo la. It was evident izolo ukuthi undunankulu ube nathi, kodwa ke namhlanje ubambeke kwi-ad hoc committee on floods kunaleyo meeting. Honorable Simelane, MEC Simelane, une-family commitment, there is an apology. Honorable NM Sbiya, MEC Public Works and Human Settlements as well, une-apology, kune-engagement department. Lastly, Honorable BN Sithole Moloi. Kodwa ngiyafisa-ke, sorry, naye she's attending a land summit. Ngiyafisa also ukuveza ukuthi other members have joined virtually. Akhona on the virtual platforms. Ngifisa siyeke kwi-item elandelayo ngokwe-program siya kwi-Workers Parliament sitting, i-debate yakhona. Angikuveze also ukuthi we are humbled by njalo the leadership being provided by abasebenzi in ensuring ukuthi siyakhula njengesishayamthetho ekwenzeni ngcono ukusebenza kwethu uma sindawonye. Bavumeleneke ukuthi sizoba sonikezelana 5 minutes presentation. Mhlambe le yokuba no mhlambe no the setting ethi ayifane neshayamthetho ithanda ukuhluka. So sizoqala ke sizocela sicele oqala ozokhuluma nathi usihlalo wekhosatu umnomzane uPhumlani Duma ukuthi sizobe sesiqala ke ukuthayima as the normal process yokuthi mengabe si-engage on a debate kuba nemizuzu sinemizuzu eyishumi. Siyacela Lwandle uzokhuluma nathi. Isikhathi Marguerite. Aye.
No, Chair, let us apologize for not very much prepared for. We thought we will start with the other processes. However, as indicated by yourself, we shall stick to the time and we shall be presenting this way. Chair, as COSATU, thank you very much. As COSATU, please, yes. Thanks for, yes.
Ngiyafisa uku-indicator ngiyaxolisa ukuthi ibe khona into ye-misunderstanding kancane. Mhlambe ngiyawucela u2 minutes ukuthi mhlambe menisadinga ukuyizihlela, otherwise uma sengathiwa ni ready ningaqhubeka. So shuthi ila siqala ke ukubala as he starts. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. No, as Bingelele, without any waste of time, we must indicate that our motion is on collective bargaining and the protection of collective bargaining. I think I've greeted all of you present here. First, we are saying as the Federation, the fact that government is on the rampage of not honoring collective agreement and that there is continued huge personal compensation budget cut amounting to 160.2 billion over 3 years. The continued rise of CPI, of health, medical products, medical service, and cost the average household food basket. As all of you know that when you talk of cooking oil and other food products, they have escalated for more than 30% at the current rate from February 2021 to February 22. Lastly, the departure from a traditional way of offering salary adjustment by giving in 2021 a monthly allowance which are outside the baseline. These and other departmental and parastatal attacks on collective bargaining by the state are only affecting public sector employees. We have noticed a trend that private sector employers also emulated the government by not negotiating in good faith with workers, which have resulted in sharp decline in In the current conjuncture, the government continues to entrench the neoliberal form and role of the state in the economy as manifested through privatization. The deregulation of public infrastructure networks for the private sector, the creation of more agencies and outsourcing of functions, keeping Treasury and South African Reserve Bank independent from the electoral mandate, and maintaining the neoliberal macroeconomic policy framework. The tender system is inherently corrupt, undermines the capacity of the state to fulfill its constitutional obligation and merely serves the narrow interests of the elites within the state and in the private sector. The continued narrative by government and neoliberal academics in characterizing the public sector as bloated, thereby justifying the cutting down on employment, has created a huge shortage of staff across all departments and institutions. This was recently confirmed by the Public Sector Summit held in Kempton Park recently. The private sector as well as contributed significantly to the rising unemployment levels due to their consistent heavy-handed retrenchments, which are replaced with precarious employment opportunities where workers are given short-term contracts, low wages, no benefits, and no job security. The state is responsible for its citizens' well-being, which includes providing and creating means to foster job creation and ensuring job retention and worker protection. How have the lives and conditions of workers improved or declined in the whole province since 1994 breakthrough? These are the critical issues that we need. I beg your pardon. These are critical issues that we need to ask ourselves as we assess the level and decline of collective bargaining process and system. Chair, we are saying our government is a bad example in the society and in the space of employment because it is the one that have led the private sector to reach a stage where they undermine collective agreement. They have seen to the our government. With those words, I want to thank you very much. I do.
Thank you so much. Siyabonga kakhulu Duma on behalf of iKhosathu. The next speaker for 10 minutes as well, it will be Usphiwe Msomi. Ndai. Angazi ngibone ngaphakama. Kodwa ke ngiyafisa also ukucela mhlambe ama speakers up to 5 ukuthi abe la. Shothi number 2, 3, 4 babe seduzane so that at least sizame ukuthi sisheshe kusondeleke. As besondela bese ke eziyehla inamba sophinde sicele abanye. Ngizocela Fedusa sibe sibheka umndayi ukuthi ungakuphi. Kodwa ke ngicela siye kwesithathu. Ubuhle. Awuse Siyacela mndayi usondele. While number 2 eza ke siyacela number 3 no number 4 nabo besondele. Basondele bangahlala ngala. Ukuze sithi ukubamba isikhathi. Siyabonga.
Angibingelele ke uyiphathimandla. I would like to say greeting to the Honorable Speaker, honorable members of the KZN Legislature, the Mayor of King Cetshwayo District, the Mayor of Umhlatuze, and our honorable traditional leaders and all protocol observed. Under the theme that we were given to deliberate on it, uniting our workers and defend the collective bargaining jobs while advancing improving labor law. Firstly, it is an honor to us as organized labor to get such a theme so that we can remind ourselves that firstly, the role that we as organized labor, when unions were formed in early 80s, in 18th centuries, their role was to unite, of which this raises us as organized labor that we need to go back and revisit our role as unions because it's our major role in order to unite and to defend the jobs in our country. Firstly, uniting the employer and organized labor has to attend to the needs and giving them the support, giving the workers the support they need. When I'm talking about the support, the moral support and the and all the needs that the employers and they need in order to give or to render the services in our community. So this is one of the major things that we as organized labor need to zoom on it. As we are in this juncture, we're looking at several sectors where we say there are sectors where employees are on contract basis. When we talk of the issue of equal pay for equal value of work, it's also cause divisions amongst us as employees. The issue of privatization, it's also got a huge impact in division, because we will find out that most of employees that are on agency basis, they are being underpaid and their needs are not attended to, of which when we look at the role that's supposed to play by the Department of Labor as such, in order to monitor of such, that all the needs of those employees are being taken off, and all those companies, all those agencies that applied, so they comply with all the labor laws that are designated in order to guide them. When we're looking at the division, we've got several divisions that we can look at. We've got simple division, we've got complex division, and we've got occupational division and geographic division, of which when I can zoom on the geographic division, it's also got an impact on our economy, whereby we find it that we cannot work where we by dividing ourselves as South African citizens. So those are the challenges that we are facing in order to unite and defend workers, because we only find out that this issue of geographic demarcation, when jobs are created in a certain area, and then you find us as South African citizens dividing ourselves and said we cannot accept somebody coming from that district to come and work here, but that individual is also a South African citizen. But we allow foreigners that are coming outside of the country to work. Those are the very critical issues that we as unions, we need to zoom on them, because these divisions, they've got a huge impact in the loss of jobs, because while we are fighting, the agencies will go and employ people from outside and continue and render the services. And people that are
citizens of South Africa, they don't benefit at all. So I think we need to have a thorough investigation and a strategy on how to deal with such, because that divisions, it also affects us. And the issue of skilling people in several sectors is also a challenge, because people, they cannot be employed because of the limitation of the skills that we require as we are approaching the fourth industrial revolution. So those are the challenges that we need to zoom at it, especially the Department of Education got a huge role to play in order to capacitate all those citizens in order to be in line with the fourth industrial revolution. I would like to say we have a role together, the legislature and the organized labor, to protect and defend. And lastly, I want to emphasize this. Bargaining, when we are in the bargaining chamber, it mustn't be look like we are coming from the different world with our employer, because that's a challenge. It seems as if they are not living in the world that we are living on, and which makes it bargaining so difficult. So we have to motivate and emphasize things that are simple, that everybody can see that it needs to be taken into consideration when we are bargaining. So especially when they emphasize the issue of saying you are the essential workers, but when it comes to the bargaining chamber, we are not being treated as essential workers because our needs are put behind. So I would like to say, let us unite. Amandla, qina msebenzi, qina. Thank you.
No, siyabonga. Ngicela siye ku speaker number 3 utete wethu ubuhle wakaleko Mdaka.
Mandla, I'm back. Ngibiza kahle angithakazela umntaba olekoma womntaba. Ngiyazi abanye yengazi. No, comrades, I will greet again and saying all protocol observed. Mine is on gender and gender-based violence. We understand the thin line between gender issues in general and women's struggle. Their dialectical relationship and practical action should be the center upon which these global sketches are resolved. Therefore, gender issues must not be perceived as only women's challenges. And even though women-based struggles, we are not seeking to elevate women above men, but we seek the destruction of patriarchy and its historical legacies centralized on the principle of equality, not on the distorted principle of women dominating men and vice versa. But this is on dominator soon. We convene in a period when progressive forces are made to choose between microsocial variables of gender-based violence and femicide, including structured gender factors and neoliberal policies orchestrated at the level of our government, diverse social environment, and ever-changing shop floor. The rise of retrenchment, unemployment, inequality, and poverty under capitalist development has simply positioned the working class, particularly women, in worse condition, where the following continued unabated. The first one is colonial dispossession, prolonged colonial fostering, perversion and aggravated traditional coercive patriarchy, negative dependency on capitalism, and these are the three basic and interrelated contradictions of colonialism of a special type: race, class, and patriarchal relationships of power. We note that gender-based violence is a societal matter or societal issue, and South Africa is no exception to it. Therefore, colonialism is a special type, was for many years the system to further perpetuate women's oppression, among others. Through this system, women in South Africa were triple oppressed as follows: oppressed as Black people by colonizers, exploited in the workplace as Africans, oppressed in their homes by men. Angazi noma bakhona yini abasas-oppressa-ke in this house. These challenges of colonialism of the special type persist today. It is for that reason that women must strengthen their fighting capacity in all sides of struggle, including this August Workers' Parliament. It is this parliament that has to take pragmatic steps towards collective action in addressing gender-based violence, which to us means the failure of the national democratic revolution, because this cause is meant to resolve the challenges of race, class, and gender in the workplace. There are no easily accessible facilities in our workplace and society to address mental health issues. Inequality is still prevalent at an unprecedented scale in both public and private sectors in the country, particularly in the precarious workplace such as sex trade, community workers and domestic workers, and even in the government, including in parliament. In these areas, even the contractual relationship between the employer and the employee does not exist, and where it exists, it is not permanent, and working conditions are appalling, which is in contravention of Section 198 of Labor Relations Act. We therefore are against unfair favoritism, discrimination, and nepotism based on gender, race, and sexuality, because it perpetuates inequality in the workplace. Workshops must be convened for both women that are affected and males. We also call for the necessary amendment to have on LGBTQI+ workers, provided with their special space and having women to be protected. We must adopt a provincial program workshop to dismiss the stereotype, mentality, and societal standard that gender is a female struggle, and what is expected to be done by men and what is expected to be done by females, which are part of the things that are contributing to society and in the workplace. In our view, this parliament should prioritize the following in the next 5 years: provincial symposium to address gender issues, a focus on boys raised by single mothers.
Honorable Botle, time is up.
Okay. Social norms around male abuse and lack of reporting on males, gender balance in female-dominated workplace. Amanda.
Siyabonga kakhulu. Ngicela our next speaker from Fedusa, umlungisi wakwaNdlovu. Zingelwayo.
Amandla awethu, comrade, greetings to Honorable Speaker, members of KZN Legislature, the Mayor of King Cetshwayo, the Mayor of Mhlathuze, all the councillors that are here, the shop stewards, all the delegates. Comrades, the topic is very clear. As workers, we have a revolutionary responsibility to defend and attack on collective bargaining. We have seen what has happened in 2018 when the very same government that we have elected into power, where they decided to undermine the Labor Relations Act, You will recall, comrades, that Labor Relations Act, when it was introduced in 1995, it was defeat of the apartheid style of collective bargaining. It should be understood that we went to the highest court where the government refused to honor the agreement. It is that responsibility that we must be able to defend the collective bargaining. We also are aware, comrades, that there are comrades that have been on strike from Dundee, when ifam yobisi la umqashi angafuni ukuthi abuyele engxoxweni akhokhele abasebenzi. We should be in solidarity with those workers. We also are aware, comrade, that there are some of our shop stewards and some of our workers who are being killed at work when they are performing their line of duty. They should be able to be defended. We must also aware and appreciate, comrade, that there are some of the department when they take serious issues of collective bargaining. We have seen in the recent years where the employers are not moving in terms of the chambers, whether you are at GPSSBC, whether you are in public health, whether you are in ELRC, whether it's triple SSBC, in the chambers, we have seen the lack of movement and lack of commitment from the government in terms of ensure that they are able to respond in terms of the workers' issues. Comrade, we cannot be able to defend the collective bargaining if our own government place moratorium on positions. You cannot be able to fill the positions of a cleaner, of a labor relations officer, of a director, yet the same government is quick to process the tendering process. The message that we are sending is that all the moratorium must be lifted, positions must be able to be filled. And comrades, you must understand that in the past 2 years, we have lost over 2 million jobs in the labor market, more than 300,000 jobs that was lost. We appreciate the progress that has been made, but comrades, we can't be celebrating 70 people that have been appointed where you have lost 300,000 positions that need to be filled. We also are aware, comrade, that there are farm workers who continue to be abused, who continue to be killed and victimized. It is high times that we are able to wake up. Most of the commissions raise the concerns that some of the senior leaders in government are not taking these workers' parliament seriously. We appreciate the work of the speaker, the chief whip, chairpersons of the committees, and all the workers who do everything to ensure that we succeed. But what we are saying, we are not being prioritized, we are not being taken serious, but when they meet with big business, ruling class, they are able to prioritize them. I know there will be time where they will not be able to attend, but if we have elected the government, they must put a stop. When we have these issues, they must be able to attend. Comrade, they want to convert KwaZulu-Natal as a desert. They want to take away the harbor where it has been creating job opportunities for many years. They've closed Subref because they don't want to produce fuel oil here in South Africa to process it. They want to import this oil so that it increases the price. Government must be able to intervene. We have seen some of the companies and employers that are not registered employees on the UIF. The mass dismissal that we have seen in the municipalities and the suspensions of some of the managers. There are people who have been on the suspensions, like social development, chief directors, they've been on suspension for over 20 months, and the department has paid over 10 million on the blanket scandal. If you believe that people are guilty of a misconduct, you should process. On the list that has been presented by the Office of the Premier, they've already spent 40 million, and that 40 million should have been used to create job opportunities. What we are saying, as FEDUSA, we are aligned with COSATU, NATO, and other federations to say the workers must not wait for the employer to unite them. This is the opportunity because the employer wants to take all the gains of democracy. Comrades, we are also sympathizing
is in solidarity with SARS staff. Employer is giving SARS employees 0%. We are aware that since 1997 to date, they've collected 17 trillion. The employees of SARS, they've collected 1.5 trillion. They want to use 500 million of their reserve. We're asking ourselves why workers deserve zero increase. The attitude of the employer has now been adopted by private sector, where they believe that the workers must not be compensated. Comrade, as one of our volunteer, we also have noted that there are some of the department that use expanded public work programs to exploit the workers. We promote the decent work. Contract workers like your community healthcare workers, they can't be exploited. They need to be given a fair wage. We must fight against the exploitations of the working class across all sectors. Government must not only prioritize government, even in the private sector. Security guard in the Department of Education, they are paid through the school government body, being paid 1,000 rand. There are many of the people that are being killed. We must also protect head of department that are being abused by political principal, where they are unable to exercise their constitutional right of ensuring that accountability. They can't even make decisions. They need to consult. Some of them, they even consult the boyfriend and the girlfriend of these leaders. We have a responsibility to ensure that as workers in this province, we are able to unite. We are saying enough is enough. We must collect the collective bargaining. Amandla.
Siyabonga ngenxa yesikhathi igwijo lona limnandi. Ngicela siye kwi speaker esilandelayo for 5 minutes on behalf of ikhosathu umnumzane uLunga wakaZekhali. Ngwane omkhulu.
Mandla. The following is with regards to youth employment and job creation. The youth unemployment rate remains very high at a staggering 6.5%. Under expanded definition, which includes discouraged job seekers, the unemployment rate declined to 46.2 from 46.6. The question of youth unemployment cannot be understood properly if it excludes job losses and job creation, as they are inseparable in these processes. It requires practical actions in dealing with it. We adopt the same revolutionary principle propounded by the working class movements that fight for both the working and the unemployed workers. As this generation, we understand that unemployment has been a phenomenon affecting mostly the youth for years, including those who have graduated from our strata because of age. Therefore, as much as we call for the employment of the youth, in particular, we also will strongly advocate for those who have entered old age, having been affected by this from their youth stages. Likewise, we also strongly feel that both public and private sectors must create job opportunities for both educated and uneducated youth and people in general. We say this with this cognizance of the fact that even calling for employment to some has become a very negative connotation to this campaign, since others argue that it has become useless to find a job under current difficult conditions of the rising cost of living and levies, whilst the salaries remain the same both at public and private sectors. We also acknowledge a job well done about scrapping the experience requirement on certain government posts, the certifying of certificates, etc. However, we want these to be extended to the private sector as well. We equally note the extension of the 350 Rand to unemployed people, mainly unemployed youth. We appreciate this, but we do not want to create and inherit a welfare state. Therefore, we hold the view that our communities need voluntary work in various sectors, including security, health and safety, clean environment, and provision of services. We want, for instance, to create a developmental state where people clean, secure, and assist in services in their areas once or twice a month, for starters, and be rewarded 500 rands per month by our state, the same way the ward communities were conceptualized. In light of the above, we therefore propose the following resolutions. The first, to reaffirm the call for filling of posts by both deserving young people and those who are outside the strata. To increase 350 rands to 500 rands with the condition of rendering a service to the state once or twice a month. Open a free landline, which will create employment for youth people, for young people, for various services, including job inquiries in the Youth Directorate, and its number must be 1976. There must be dedicated bursaries for young workers which cater to both employed and unemployed workers. These must be oriented and aligned to CETA. A concerted effort must be put into education on current critical skills. For example, considering 4IR. Young workers should be exposed to options and not limited to specific programs. Lastly, we affirm the resolutions that the following should also be prioritized meaningfully to contribute to job creation. Prevention of job losses by supporting campaigns that are on business rescue, companies that are on business rescue, strengthening M&E systems, depth and port expansion, and leverage on the KZN catalyst projects. We so move.
Siyabonga kakhulu. Ngiyafisa la ukuxolisa abathi liqhosha libhekile. Ngi-omithe uSpeaker number 5. Kanti nayizolo ubeke wancintsheka ithuba lapha ephakamisa sesiqedile. Ngiyafisa ukunikeza ithuba uLonwabo Kakane from NAT for the next 20 minutes. Ukuthi akhulume nathi. Phela.
Webasebenzi hlanganani. Webasebenzi hlanganani bo. Webasebenzi hlanganani. Webasebenzi hlanganani bo. Mandla. Qina msebenzi qina. Qina msebenzi qina. Siyabonga kakhulu Hlalo Mntwana, Chairperson of the Standing Committee, amalunga onke aphezulu legislature, now onke nje amalunga khona from federations nezicukuthwane ezikhona, ngiyanibingelela nonke. Hayi vele nje ngicabanga ukuthi sesiqedile itheme yethu ngoba isho njalo nje ithi hlanganani, uniting workers to defend collective bargaining and jobs whilst advancing improved labor laws. The dehumanizing effects of mass production and consequent loss of identity among workers result in a massive potential for conflict. Workers found a new identity with a newly emerged working class called proletariat and began to organize themselves to voice their protest against so-called ravages of capitalism. Kunzima ke kakhulu basebenzi because this is one of the sad part, the depriving of the working class their right in terms of participating in a final product of their production is very, very devastating, and I think it is continuing to occur even in this juncture. Namhlanje, most workers are having the identity, so-called workers, of which those identities, ngengayithandi mina, akekho umsebenzi ophuma ekhaya, noma ubaba nje noma umama ekhaya khena imagine abantwana bakho bakubize wemsebenzi. That particular identity gradually it takes away the identity or the true identity of ourselves. We wish to unite workers in that perspective that the truly identity of ourselves could come back. Employees, they need to know and identify that the name called worker or labor, that is the secondary identity, and we cannot be identified by workers. Siwo baba, siwo mama, siwo sisi, siwo bhuti, siyintsha nje uyabona kwabanye amakhosazana inhle nje le nto. So we need to understand our identity. We're wishing to unite workers in the original state and identify and dignity. We strongly believe that this will be easily achieved when federation recover their coexistence. It is also important to consider trade unions federation. That is done in order to achieve a common unity of purpose and avoid fragmented and often divisive individual action. Kuzafanele sibe neqiniso kithina. Federation, I think we need again to re-identify us. Federations, we are not employees or employers to say, because federation now and again, it seems like lento yokuba simela abasebenzi zama-federation siyayikhohlwa ngokuyikhohlwa. Babonakala behleli laphayana kwigungu eziphezulu. It is so sad ukuthi kungaze kuqale isiteleka. Ama-federations, they are not appearing. Awazi ukuthi kwenzakalani. Because that is their coexistence, ukuthi si-unite, sihlangane, and fight against this particular format of disunity. By uniting within a single federation, unions are able to negotiate more efficiently and also have a better chance to achieve more broadly based politically and economic goals. It is very imperative, comrades, that we understand that our core as federation is to defend the right of our employees. As unions, while we are joining the federation, we want to strengthen the federation in order to be able to fight against this capital system. Plus minus 70% non-unionized workers. Federation must advance campaign to recruit those employees. It's all said, leadership, that even in this juncture, majority of workers are not unionized in our country. Majority of workers are not unionized in our country. So we call the federation to assist the unions in terms of campaigns and also supporting them. Typical example, there are another strike that is taking place in Johannesburg. And when you look on that particular instance, I think federations, they can play a vital role in that particular strikes, and also the strikes that are going all over in our country in terms of intervening amicable. To defend collective bargaining and jobs, first we must identify the attacks we are facing with. Kubalulekile abasebenzi, uma ngabasithi si-unite abasebenzi to defend, we must identify those particular attacks that you are faced with. Because if you are just defending, thina sadlala intonga lapha ngasemakhaya, Xa lokuhlanganisa njalo uyawugalela nini? Isiphi lesi sikhathi ozohlasela ngaso wena? Because you are always in a defensive mood. Therefore, we need to defend. In our days, the attacks that we are faced with is the cheap labor. The cheap labor is one of the form of attacks that is based to the employees. Abasebenzi banenkinga ye cheap labor. Namhlanje abasebenzi, they are not able to demand what is due to them because ufaka demand ngala labor ngalapha izongena la endaweni yakho. This form of casualization is the old tactics of the employers or either the capital to disunite the workers. Secondly, we need to understand that this party is not more than a foreign. This is the attack. Employing foreign nationals who don't have documentation and not providing scarce skills. This is the attack that we are faced with. Uthola ukuthi abantu basuka lapha emazweni, go to our neighboring countries. You cannot go to Zimbabwe and drive a truck. But in our country, there's a lot of drivers. Some, they don't have a documentation. What skills they are providing in our country? You go to petrol fueling stations, they are there. We are saying, and we are sending a strong message to the government and the chairperson that this particular Migration Act, it should be observed in the manner that is going to be catalyzed in order to rectify these particular issues, because they are form of attack in our struggle. Department of Labor hold this employer who does such accountable. Employers aqasha labantu deliberately knowing that they don't have papers. Umuphi nje umqasho ke wambona wena enikezwa noma ethola isijeziso because eqasha ama-foreigners. Textile industry is one of the vulnerable sector of this particular foreign, whereby cheap labor is there. And I think the government also is exercising such by casualizing a number of items or a number of sectors in their space. Let's do away with multi-agreements due to the state of our country to avoid unnecessary dispute whereby employer apply for exemption, dismantling the very agreement that is signatory to. Leadership, this is very, very disappointing act that our government did, or either this precedent that our government set, I think is untolerable. Our comrade just mentioned it from Fedusa, that government kube uyena ongazukhokhela abasebenzi, usenda yiphi message kulamandla usenda yiphi message kwabaqashi bama-private sectors. So we are saying, comrade, that we need to uproot it, and by doing so, let us do away with this particular multi-year agreement. We say we involve ourselves in multi-year agreement for the process, or either is going to be sustainable. But these particular employers, they are applying exemption to be exempted to pay what they've agreed initially. We need to appreciate the manner in which our labor laws are structured. However, we are still called amendment of section 189A in conjunction with section 41 of the basic conditions of employment. Leadership, last year, I was standing in the very same legislature advising or either calling this particular amendment. Comrade, kubhlungu, whereby our government or either these pieces of legislation anikeza umqashi ama-right ukuthi uma engayenzi inzuzo makasiqoshe. And then when you look at section 41, who talks to a severance pay, what is this particular severance pay is advised by basic conditions of employment. A 1 week comrade for a year. Today, no one that is can guarantee that is having a secured job, even the government employees for that matter, because employers or capitals are given a free way to make it a point that they dismiss you when they don't make any profit. Comrade, let the privatization of our right not being part of the final product is still a problem. Export fitting particular items that we produce in our country. Who's the benefit? Workers should be the benefit of those particular resources. We call, comrade, that this particular section 189, Chairperson, we wish even further a committee that is going to deal with this particular issue. Namhlanje, we're facing unnecessary, comrade, retrenchment without a proper rationale, because the employer, whether you like or not, whether you agree or not agree, the employer wants to serve you with a notice of section 189 after 60 days is continuing. We noted that in the right of section 64 of the Labor Relations Act, we do have also in terms of our constitution, Bill of Rights, section 23. But comrade, and there is no remedy in that particular perspective. That's why, Chairperson, we are saying the issue of rationale, it has to be dealt meaningfully. And also the issue of packages. We need to revisit. Let us not make the issue of retrenchment an easy path for the employee to get rid of the employees. We need to intensify and come with a amicable solution in terms of amending this particular section. CCMA, comrades, when you read the dismissal procedures or either types of dismissal, we can count the misconduct dismissals, also incapacity dismissals. Then the third one, this unfair retrenchment. What we'll find, whether fairly or not, he will just say to you, I don't have a jurisdiction to arbitrate the matter of unfair dismissal in terms of retrenchment. But why enayo a jurisdiction ku unfair labor or either ku unfair dismissal? We call this amendment that the CCMA must be empowered to have a jurisdiction over unfair retrenchment. Because this issue, comrade, unfairly, and then once they've been dismissed unfairly, you go for a conciliation at the CCMA. Then after that, of the CCMA, the process is done. And then we have heard that the labor court is congested with the number of cases, with the lesser staff. After 8 years, abanye sabafa, abanye sabadlula emhlabeni, abanye abasenayo interest kulento. CCMA must have a jurisdiction to deal with these particular matters of unfair retrenchment. Leadership, as I'm concluding, Federation must stop signing in the NETLEG agreements that are affecting employees without taking comprehensive mandate
Those who sit in the network in our federation, they must do away with that conduct. Comrade, to remind you, we didn't ask the national minimum wage. We requested the living wage. But our fellow federation, what did they sign? They come back with the minimum wage. Emfaneni xa sikuthuma ukuthi ambolanda ingulube, ambolanda ingulube musuthatha ikati laphaya ubuye nayo. We called into this conduct that federation, because the core of their existence is that they must unite workers. We need to be united. You can't go and sign. Is that a minor, this minimum wage issue? Federation went on to sign the migration of the provident fund to pension fund. Where did you get that mandate? Namhlanje sesilwa i-issue ukuthi awukwazi uyithola imali yakho ngoba ishonisela ubani onikazi right ukuthi ayishone laphaya. Recently, comrade, this particular federation of ours, they just signed a mandatory vaccine that is contradiction with the constitution in terms of the right. Where did you get that particular mandate? Namhlanje silwa ama-cases esiseme angawineki because the elite of this particular federation, they signed that particular document. Niyithathele uphi imvume yokusayina lezi zinto? Ningazange kubasebenzi. We are saying eyona role nabo abasebenzi, more than or plus minus 70% non-unionized. Sisizeni ngale mali eniyitholayo, sihambe siyokwenza ama-campaign, si-recruit abasebenzi, lokho kuzokumsiza. And all of the above can be achievable, taking serious note that the tripartite, which is government, capitalism, and working class, is adhered to. Comrade, we need to be very true in ourselves. When we talk about the tripartite, sikhuluma ngani? Lapho sikhuluma go-government, sikhuluma ngomqashi, sikhuluma nge-working class. Let us unite and understand that we are defending the workers or the working class. I thank you, leadership.
Thank you so much, Lonwabo. May I then request that we take the next speaker from Fedus, Utumsan Kumalo Mashoban, for the next 10 minutes.
Amandla. Izwe. Qina msebenzi qina. Qina msebenzi qina. Somlomo uhloniphekileyo, undunankulu wesifundazwe, amalungu ePhalamende la KwaZulu-Natal ahloniphekileyo. Isakhamuzi sokuqala saseKing Cetshwayo District, isakhamuzi sokuqala saseMhlathuze Municipality. Amakhosi onke aphathele ngonyama umhlaba. Abafundisi, abaphathi belizwe elingcwele. Ngikholwa ukuthi akukho lapho engixhomondele khona somlomo. Our theme today is uniting workers to defend collective bargaining and job whilst we're advancing and improving the labor laws. Before I start, comrades, ngifisa kakhulu ukunxusa our federations ukuthi through network siyanicela ama-federations sonke together masibuka le team ethi uniting workers. To us, it means a lot. It doesn't matter whether you are a Fetusa or you are a Naktu or you are a Kosatu or you are a Sapsu or who else. This term of uniting, I want to quote one of our African leaders, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. If a identifier to the term uniting, ukuthi wayelibuka kanjani leli gama, ama-beliefs wakhe ngokuhlanganisa ama-Afrika, ukuthi what was in his mind. Uma ucabanga uNkwame Nkrumah ukuthi sikahanani isikhathi ayebusa ngaseGhana. Today is 2022. We are still talking about that. There is no unity amongst us. That's a fact, comrade. But if a network, esikuthatha ngokuthi this is our parliament as workers, all federations are striving towards one direction. Ngaba sinazo lezi inkinga zokuthi sisiwe ku-High Court naku-Supreme Court of Appeal ngoba kwazi ukuthi asinamali sabasebenzi. So comrade, let us push khona unobhala nosihlalo ngapha obduma nokhabazela. Abekho ngalo nobhala noyihlalo. Angazi noma babalekele khona ukuthi siyakhuluma ngapha siyabathethisa. Kuyafanele ukuthi sithi masiphosa isitswebhu Mthombeni singasiphosi uhulumeni kuphela. Nakuwo ama-federation nama-unions ama-affiliates sisiphose ukuze sizoyeka ukuba sicabanga ukuthi sikwi-comfort zone ngoba sikuma-federation. So kufanele siyibonge into le, siyabonga ukuthi all the time i-Workers' Parliament sihlezi siba nani noba yi-2. Siyakubonga lokho. Ngicela nishaye lihlombe nonke ama-federation. So comrades, if we collective bargaining as sinikeziwe i-Labour Relations Act ukuthi the collective bargaining is one of our rights. If we agree on the collective agreement ukuthi sizawuphila iminyaka emithathu, kule minyaka emithathu sizawusebenza kanjani, there is no need ukuthi kube khona umqashi ofuna ukusi-challenge uma si-united. If you as COSATU you said no, we are going on strike, there is no need of myself as Fedusa to say no. ICOSATU ayihambi iyoteleka mina ngizaqhubeka ngiyosebenza. That shows no solidarity. That's why sifisa kakhulu ukuthi asisebenziseni ithuba esuke sinikeze lona, especially Workers' Parliament. That's why enkulumeni yami ngifisa ukubonga kakhulu ukhuzeni nishaya umthetho sonke saKwaZulu-Natal ukuthi i-Workers' Parliament ibalulekile kubo mayibona ukuthi ibalulekile because uPrima okhona njengamanje akuyena uPrima wokuqala ukuthi avume ukuthi i-Workers' Parliament ihlala. So uma ingena naye ngoba ungumphathiswa kwayena uNdunankulu wayibona ukuthi ibalulekile. Simbonga kakhulu ukuthi fanele ngabe siyayiqhenya eKZN. That is the only province in a Workers' Parliament. That is the only province and a great impact. Ku-network, ku-National Workers' Parliament, ku-President of the country, ku-Minister of Labour and Employment. That is the only province ekwazi ukuhlala e-Workers' Parliament. Lama resolutions athathola, that's why they must be taken seriously because a great impact to the national government. Asishayeleni ihlombe basebenzi. We are the only one province that have got a Workers' Parliament. So if we are united, the meaning of this word united is to command the direction if we are commanding the direction, it means there will be no worker in South Africa that are under oppress by either is a public sector or is a private sector. There will be no worker because we are commanding the direction as the labor movement, as the organized labor. That's why, comrades, kunoma vuke ngeni, angithi kakani nisho kanjalo ngakini. Kunoma vuke ngeni Khawazela abayibiza ngo-Association of Workers. Obabuza ukuthi what is this? Bathi bawu association. Because there is a vacant space sethu as organized labor to move forward what we are talking about, that every collective bargaining must be implemented. Le comrade ye 3 years esuke sivumelene ngayo nabaqashi bese kuthi ngo-second year umqashi a-apply le-exemption bese siyasuka thina ama-federation siyoncenca uminister ukuthi hayi bagrante ngoba ngabangani bami bangithengela iphotshi. It can't work, comrade. That corruption enikhuluma ngayo kwi-government, it can't work to us. Let us stop by all means, because siyayibona kuma-bargaining council esihlezi kuwona kule minyaka ukuthi ukuchanelwa kwamashankura kukhulu kakhulu kuma-bargaining council emthombeni. Agcina ama-comrade engasayi esethumela ama-attendance register afakwe eflightini aphathiswe ukuze makuhlalwa ngale kubuye upeyini uzomkhokhela ngala, but akayanga lapha athunywe khona i-federation. That is wrong, comrades. Let us improve by all means ukuthi i-corruption singama-unions, singama-federations, silwa nayo at all cost, because i-corruption, let's say i-corruption ayilimazi u-government, ilimazi abasebenzi. One of i-bargaining council ehlezi ezohlala ngomhla ka-13 and 14, comrades, iphethe u-0.5%. Ngo-2006, the labor achieved 8.6%. Just look at the downfall from 2006 to 2022. Bazothi abaqashi baphethe 0.5%. They achieved 8.6% in 2006. Now they said, no, we have got 0.5%. Does it make sense, comrade? As if umsebenzi uma engena eshop, kune shop ethi wena ngoba uyasebenza, you are getting salary, isinkwa sakho noma ubisi lwakho noma wakho umntana emotweni kamalume ukhokha less price.
Mashobani, phoxa sona isikhathi Mzilikazi.
Angibonge somlomo.
Siyabonga. Ngicela sidlulele kwi-speaker esilandelayo on behalf of KwaZulu for 5 minutes. Siyabonga Kontwana. Chairman.
Thank you very much, colleagues and everybody present here. Greetings. We extend our warm and revolutionary greetings from KwaZulu. We have hope that all of us as many presenters have focused on the unity of workers, which is encapsulated in the Marxist perspective that workers of the world must unite because you have got nothing to lose but your chains. That we must not use this platform for populism, and we must not use this platform to attack workers, but we must all harness our efforts and towards one direction of addressing the plight of workers. So we said we must come and present a motion here on 4th Industrial Revolution and unemployment and skills development, because we wanted to bring it to your attention that we are in the environment where the environment is continuously and rapidly changing towards a particular direction. And if we are not planning for the future, we might find ourselves surprised of the future. And we must use these platforms to discuss that and be able to shape the future. One is that the technological advancement and artificial intelligence is inevitable, and we cannot be able to change it today. Instead, we can plan to acclimatize ourselves within it and work within it to ensure that we better the conditions of workers and we ensure that the future society lives better with the technological advancement here. But we said we must firstly school the colleagues who are here about where we come from with the fourth industrial revolution. It's a concept that was developed in the 21st century by one of the affluent businessmen internationally who came up with it as a fourth industrial revolution. But firstly, it started in 1760 to 1820. That is the years where it started. The first one, where there were steam engines and water power that was used for production. The second one was in 1871 to 1914, where the rail infrastructure was developed and where the telegrams were developed in order to communicate and advanced economic production. The third one was industrial technological advancement in production. And the fourth one, it was in the 20th century. And the fourth one is in the 21st century, which is the fourth industrial revolution, where we see the machine-to-machine communication. So I want to stimulate your thinking that we must, at all material times when we are discussing as workers, any conception predicated from the working class perspective and the ideological orientation of the workers. So our thinking must always be informed by empirical evidence of what is going on the ground. So that is why I'm saying we must not put the blanket approach on the fourth industrial revolution and say it is affecting workers negatively only. We must also drive a thinking that we must be informed by research. So our parliament must invest the resources in research to ensure that we see the industries that are going to be beneficial for workers when we have fourth industrial revolution, and we see industries that are negatively affecting workers when we have fourth industrial revolution. I will make an example. In the mining sector, the fourth industrial revolution, harnessed correctly, properly guided, can assist our own workers, because drilling our mineral resources and getting our gold out underground cannot be the work of our own human beings. We can send robots to go and drill underground so that if there are challenges, those robots will be locked. They're not our people. So how do we drive that narrative as workers so that we can make sure that fourth industrial revolution is benefiting us? And we can also use it in the health sector, where our workers can be able to receive complicated surgeries by doctors who are overseas and they are here. But at the same time, we cannot allow fourth industrial revolution to replace our workers and to be the ones that is informing retrenchments in our workplaces. How do we do that? We do that by ensuring that we work together with our government and our federations to inform the project of skilling, reskilling, and upskilling of our workers so that they can acclimatize themselves within the environment of fourth industrial revolution. Because comrades and honorable members, I can assure you, if we are not doing that, next time, in the next 100 years, we will have the parliament of workers addressed by robots. And we must not allow that situation to happen. Amandla.
Siyabonga kakhulu. Ngiyafisa sidlulele speaker esilandelayo on behalf of KwaZulu for 5 minutes. Unonde Shongwe Mtimandi.
Ngibingelela ama-members esishayamthetho saKwaZulu-Natal, ama-delegates, umphakathi, and all protocols observed. Mine is on social transformation on NHI and education. The COVID-19 health crisis has presented a disturbing state of affairs within the healthcare system. COVID-19 has proven the importance of a strong health system that does not prioritize profit before people's lives. The private health sector has been experiencing high numbers of health workers infected by COVID-19 as a result of lack of PPEs. There is no other time than now to realize the importance of universal health coverage through the implementation of the National Health Insurance, where primary healthcare plays a vital role in building the strong health system. This pandemic came at a time where our health system is still ill prepared. The lack of PPEs has hindered response to infected patients and has also put health workers at risk. According to the NHI bill, the purpose of this act is to establish and maintain a national health insurance fund in the Republic funded through mandatory prepayment that aims to achieve sustainable and affordable universal access to quality health services by servicing as the single purchaser and single payer of health services in order to ensure the equitable and fair distribution and use of healthcare services, ensuring the sustainability of funding for healthcare services within the Republic, and providing for equity and efficient in funding by pooling of funds and strategic purchasing of healthcare services, medicine, health goods, and health-related products from accredited and contracted healthcare services providers. NHS aims to move South Africa towards universal health coverage. It's intended to provide health services to the without them incurring any financial hardship. NHI is aimed at transforming the fragmented two-tier health system, the public and private, into a unified health system that's envisaged by the 1997 White Paper on the transformation of the health system in South Africa. The NHI will act as a health financial mechanism that pulls funds to provide access to quality health services for all South Africans based on their health system and irrelative of their social economic status. It will be a single payer and single purchaser for health services. This will address the issues of high cost in the private health sector due to price control and price fixing. The NHI is the only system that will correctly redistribute resources in an equitable ways and based on the health needs of the population and close the health service divide between the urban and rural demographics. Kuba nzima-ke uthola ukuthi wena as umsebenzi uyikhavile une-medical aid bese kwenzeka nje iphutha ube sengozini yemoto. Uthola ukuthi abantwana bakho buhamba nabantwana bakho bona sebeyolalisa kwi-government hospital wena usuya kwa-private. Ingakho sithi aku-introduce this NHI ukuze kuzolingana ngoba nayo lama-medical aid akhona njengamanje ayabiza sigcina singakwazi ukukhava bonke abantu emndenini yethu, so kugcina kube nalokhu kungalingani okukhona. In education now and more than ever, South Africans are painfully aware of the systematic inequalities that continue to play out in our country. In this sector, the intervention for universities and TVET colleges included the development and implementation of multi-model remote learning system, e-learning, while private and suburban institutions were able to swiftly and easily switch to e-learning. Most public institutions were not, although the government made great strides in this regard through initiatives such as the zero-rated departmental and public institution website. Many students were and are still left behind with no connection and hope of saving the academic year. Our post-schooling
Eh,
programs must
Nonto,
fight for the prospects
Honorable
and-
Noto, the time, iyona ephoqa yodadewethu.
Okay.
Siyabonga.
Ngiyabonga.
Ngiyacela siye to the next speaker for the next 5 minutes on behalf of COSATU, uFelicia Zwane. Cela usondele Mangethe.
Greetings to the Honorable Chair, Zulu, the members of legislation, all federations that are present, all departments and all community members. I'll be presenting a motion on economic recovery, construction and job creation. The province of KwaZulu-Natal was ravaged by COVID-19 in 2020, followed by the July unrest in 2021. As if there was not enough, it was further devastated by the floods in April and in May 2022. This took the province back with great losses in job front and economic development. We are revealed that the province has been declared a disaster province. The funds that will be made available should have a dual mandate of reconstruction, the infrastructure and building strategic industries that are going to create jobs. There is a need to urgent implementation all the progressive interventions in the Provincial Economic Recovery Plan. The main priority should be to ensure that we regain the job losses and start to create jobs, targeting a specific sectors such as manufacturing, agriculture, tourism, etc., as strategic growth areas of the province. To ensure flood security, we need to get more households and smallholder farmers planting more vegetables, including cannabis licensing in rural communities, as an aging and growing economy. The floods, however, need all stakeholders to come together and look at the inefficiencies of the current infrastructure management and reconstruction. We are still using the old apartheid infrastructure where the population has at least doubled over the past few decades. We therefore call for the Land, Environment, and Climate Change Summit that should involve all stakeholders, including traditional leaders and local municipalities, on how best and land distribution could be managed to ensure that we don't expose people to hazardous settlement zone. The governance, LGE, service delivery, infrastructure, and climate change, the mass dismissal of workers in the municipalities in Newcastle, Ugu, and King Tetrai has not been dealt with adequately by copter workers who were dismissed in these municipalities continues to face hardships and poverty. These municipalities have contributed a mass provincial unemployment numbers and a lack of trust in the current government. Service delivery protests and dissatisfaction are still an ongoing feature and has become a common form of expression of most of working class communities which are not provided with adequate basic services. KZN is a water scarce province that lacks adequate water catchment retention and distribution infrastructure. KwaZulu-Natal has experienced unprecedented catastrophic floods, which has taken many people's lives and livelihoods, leaving a trail of destruction, and this is all linked to climate change and changing weather patterns. In South Africa, government through the Ministry of Energy has announced its commitment to energy mix, coal, nuclear, new renewable hydros to a national grid. Workers spend most half of their salaries on transport to and from work. There has been a failure to transform and resolve challenges embedded in the taxi industry. Security, crime and corruption. There is a massive corruption facilitated by the private sectors, which continues unabated as the focus of primarily targeted at public institutions. Corruption and maladministration are cancerous pandemic that has engulfed our society to the core. A developing state cannot afford to ignore corruption practices which are anti-developmental and anti-productive. The workers, the poor people suffer the most. Governments and business collude and divert taxpayers' money to flatten the pockets of individuals and their organization. I thank you.
Siyabonga kakhulu. Dadewethu. Kodwa ngiyacela uma sixoxa sithi kodwa ukwehlisa amazwi. Sekukhona abazwakalayo nje. Ngiyacela sithi ukwehlisa ngoba kuphazamiseka osuke ekwi-podium. Ngiyacela siye kwe-speaker esilandelayo on behalf of Fedusa for 5 minutes, Albert Yodwa.
Revolutionary greetings to our honorable speaker, honorable members of the KZN legislature, the mayor of the King Tshwane district, the mayor of Umhlatuzana municipality, as well as our traditional leaders and all protocol reserved. My name is Albert Yolwa, umfoka Jolinkomo, Mahlamba Ngobende. Nginibingelela nonke ma comrade. Without wasting any time, we'll touch based on a theme that was proposed by the Workers' Parliament. Uniting workers to defend. Firstly, we need to revisit the basics, and we owe it to ourselves to capacitate employers and as well as all the working class in order to be able to prepare, negotiate, reach an agreement, and implement it. Defending our jobs, it talks to mostly working the land. We were given a very wealthy land in terms of agriculture and in terms of mineral resources. I will dwell much on mineral resources, especially the mines. We have a forward linkage, but we don't have a backward linkage. And that simply means we export, like for instance, gold and other mineral resources that would have to be purified maybe across the board. Why don't we have a backward linkage whereby we will finalize our products? I remember Comrade Kakane has touched based on that. That will enable us to have more job opportunities. It doesn't make sense for us to export gold that is worth 10,000 and Ibuya ring after has been polished by our engineers is 50,000. And I wonder, or we wonder, government wethu ukuthi akayiboni yini lonto, if uyayibona wenzani ngayo. Let us go and get all the required skills, all the necessary skills, ukuze sikwazi ukuthi senze i-final product ngaphambi kokuthi iwele iye ngaphandle. Coming to the issue of advancing and improved labor laws. Comrades, in the private sector, we have a problem whereby the employer would deduct provident fund from employees, but does not contribute towards the respective fund. We urge siyamncenga uCCMA ukuthi implement imithetho that will enforce and prosecute employers that are corrupt, laba abagqilaza abantu abangathathi intweni, ukuthi kube nama measures. And let's do away with ama-provident fund adjudicators because we don't even have one around the KZN. Manje, umbuzo wami uthi sinokha kuphi umnyango uma ngabe sifuna ukuyo-reporta umqashi o-deducta ama-provident fund from ama-employees angawasi esikhwameni. Secondly, iphi imithetho ezo-enforcer umqashi ukuthi akenze ama-contributions of provident fund, because as unions or as labor movement, when we go there, they will tell us to go to the police stations and make an affidavit for if criminal or maybe if fraud. Now, all we are saying or all we are urging to UCCMA is to implement afake le mithetho so that siyazi ukuthi sizonokha kuyiphi iminyango as u-labor movement esirepresent abasebenzi kwi-working class. I thank you.
Siyabonga kakhulu ngicela siye kwi-speaker esilandelayo on behalf of iKOSATU for 5 minutes uSithembiso Dlamini Sibalikhulu waseLembe.
Okay. Greetings to former Speaker Wawaduza, who's a chairperson a program today, and all protocol observed. A former member of SAM. Unfortunately, leadership have dealt with the issue of governance, local governments, service delivery, infrastructure, and climate change. So what we'll do, we'll just add from what has been said by my predecessor from KOSATU. On a mass dismissal, we felt that indeed COGTA did not do an adequate job in terms of dealing with that particular matter. And we felt that you still have a time to correct and make sure that doing exactly what needed to be done. And we still request COGTA to pay a special attention to this or to this municipality called Ntuba, because that one is need a special attention, because in a month or in 2 months, you will find that there will be different employers, meaning council, and each council, when it's being inaugurated, will be dismissing workers. Whoever that get in will dismiss workers. And regardless of what political party, because even in the same political party, they will dismiss workers on the basis of their faction in that same political party. And when they dismiss, when others, they took power, they will bring back those ones that were dismissed and dismiss others. And it's becoming a norm at Umtuba. So we believe that COGTA can play an important role and in addressing that part. I think COGTA knows very well, because in some stage did administrate that municipality. So we feel good if that one can be making sure that the special focus is there, everything will be fine. Bese kuba issue yama EPWP and CWP. The problem that we feel ukuthi a problem ngempela ukuthi in most cases, instead of filling the post, kuvele kuthathwe lawo basebenzi beyofakwa ababe ama EPWP beyosebenza imisebenzi permanent, and that thing should be stopped, not only in the municipality but in all departments, because it's a new model of exploitation that need to be addressed. EPWP is for the program, a certain program that is being made for a particular month, but you may find it ended up not for a particular month, it ended up for uyibona sekuyinhlakavukela nje se-exploit abasebenzi for more than 5 or 10 years. Comrade, the issue of a transport mode esibhekana nayo ukuthi cha besingakujabulela nje ukuthi omasipala together with iCOGTA try by all means possible to deal with ngoba uma kuthiwa kunempi kosomatekisi, it affects us as a working class. Ithina sisebenzisa this public transport.
Mnumzane uDlamini sekungaba sona isikhathi siyabonga.
Ungakhohlwa ukuthi njalo I'm still
Sicela ukuthola isikhulumi sethu seshumi nantathu on behalf of iKhosathu umnumzane Umuzi wakazakwe for 5 minutes.
Somlomo namalunga ahloniphekile eParliament siyabingelela. I will be talking on the topic that talks to safety and security as well as corruption. So what we want to say today is to say there is a massive corruption facilitated by private sector, which continues unabated as the focus is primarily targeted on public institutions. Corruption and maladministration are a serious cancerous pandemic that has engulfed our society to the core. When we say, Madam Speaker, the corruption is a cancer. This call is a call for concern because the cancer ayilapheki. But we've got a duty as the society of South Africa to address the question of the corruption. As a developing state, we cannot afford to ignore corruption and practices which are anti-developmental and anti-productive. The workers and the poor people suffer most when government and business collude to divert taxpayers' money to fatten their pockets of individual and organization. This is very critical, Malunga Parliament ahloniphekile. We've noticed that the corruption is coming from both sectors, which is private and public sector. But in many instances, we tend to focus on public sector. Yes, it is true that the public sector must lead by example so that the private sector will follow suit in terms of not involving themselves on corruption. Hence, we are saying it is imperative that as a country, we address the question of corruption in order to address this pandemic corruption that we are talking about. And we also say, if we do not act decisively against those who are committing corruption, that is failing our masses, because at the end of the day, corruption is failing our masses. We will have ourselves to blame as the country. And we cannot afford to be quiet when masses are living in fear. Hence, we are calling upon government and law enforcement agencies to deal with the question of corruption as well as the question of security in this country. This is our submission as COSATU in relation to the question of corruption as well as the question of security. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Siyabonga kakhulu siyafisa ukuthatha speaker esilandelayo on behalf of Fedusa umnumzana uNkosinathi wakaThwala. Nkosinathi Thwala. Akekho. Angifisi phela kuthiwe ngidlule umuntu ekhona kodwa ngicabanga ukuthi indlu iyezwa sonke siyezwa and akaqhamuki. Ngiyafisa ke siye kwi-speaker sethu esingesokugcina in this debate. Ngicela on behalf of COSATU for the next 15 minutes umnumzane uEdwin wakamkhize. Ngonesi.
Awungathi uyaqhubeka ifrizile lento yami. Sathi ngiyajabula sawo. Sengazuthi ngiyancedakala. Hayi madoda. Shall technology? No. I think if what IR le ifrizile straight. Ngiyaxolisa kakhulu. Ngiyaxolisa. Oh. Ngicela nalapha ka-80 bakucheck na. Right, but I respond yes. How to improve, Mela?
Amandla. I'm sure, Chair, you were not timing the songs as well. Greetings. I think we start by saying, we know as we sit in this parliament, even a number of speakers yesterday have raised issues that we are sitting at a time where there is a serious global uncertainty. Global uncertainty informed by a number of factors, a number of issues that we have been raising, around the plight of the people of Cuba, the plight of the people in Palestine, the plight of the people in sub-Saharan Africa, but also what we think that is now is deepening the crisis, the global crisis in terms of what is happening in Russia and Ukraine. There is a point that you want to raise, Chair, very eloquently and very clear. We don't know because we didn't even hear from both speakers that spoke about Russia and Ukraine yesterday, reflecting on what we see as a real current crisis, whereby the Senate, the USA Senate, has passed a law, has passed an act, a very disturbing act called Countering Malign Russian Activities in Africa, Act 117, passed by the Senate on the 28th April 2022. In terms of the act, the purpose of this act, it says, is to direct the Secretary of State to develop and submit to Congress a strategy and implementation plan outlining United States' effort to counter the malign influence and activities of the Russian Federation and its proxies in Africa for other purposes. It says to regularly assess the scale and scope of the Russian Federation's influence and activities in Africa that undermine United States objectives and interests. It says to determine how to address and counter such influence and activities effectively, including through appropriate United States foreign assistance programs, and to hold accountable the Russian Federation and African governments and their officials who are complicit and aiding such malign influence and activities. Which I think for us, looking at that, it's quite disturbing. But quite disturbing enough, it says to manipulate African governments and their policies, as well as the public opinions and voting preferences of African populations and diaspora groups, including those in the United States, to invest, engage, or otherwise control strategic sectors in Africa, such as mining and other forms of natural resources, extraction and exploitation, military basing, and other security cooperation agreements, and information and communications technology. We are very worried
We want the Parliament of Workers to note this. We cannot take light that development that is taking place in that part of the globe. But if this act is factual, is truth, maybe we must say, because no one has spoken about it, nationally, no one has spoken about it, provincially, no one has spoken about it. And we want to say, we want to task our government to engage with this act so that at the end of the day, as South Africans, we are able to defend our sovereignty. Sicela-ke ukutaska i-government yethu ukuthi isicelele i-clarity kobhuti abadala base-USA, isicelele i-clarity ukuthi usho ukuthini lo mthetho. Mengabe niyosicelela i-clarity nisho ukuthi asilwi. Asilwi. Siyacela nje kahle sicela i-clarity, hayi ukuthi we are fighting. We don't want to fight because we know ukuthi it's a space where the South African government said we must advocate for peace. So siyacela i-clarity ukuthi what it means about our own sovereignty. The reason why I'm raising these issues, it's a big question of the imperialist forces agenda and the whole class question of the world. We are talking today about defending collective bargaining. Lama collective bargaining, that's what defender. First and foremost, we need to know where this agenda comes from. This agenda does not come here. It's the agenda of the imperialist forces that is imposed to our government not to pay workers. And therefore, as workers, we must unite and fight against this imperialist agenda, comrade, and defeat it. That's how we need to understand it. It is all these what you call rating agencies that come to our government and say, do not give workers money. It's a neoliberal agenda. Safunda-ke thina ukuthi khona esinye isilwane efanele usishaye kakhulu engeke ngisibize ngegama. Kuse kuqhamuka umnikazi waso ngemuva. So it means ukuthi fanele sishaye bani kakhulu? Our government. Okuyena o-advance ukuthi abasebenzi bangayitholi ama-salaries abo. Okuyena who's freezing the salaries of workers. Sishaye our government bese kuvela umnikazi kuphi? Ngemuva. Bese siyabona-ke sinawo amandla okudila nomnikazi. On uniting workers, we are saying basebenzi, ama-federations asekhulumile wonke, let us unite. An injury to one is an injury to all. That we always say. We always say, united, we succeed, divided, we fall. We need to start with ourselves. That is why we started there. But on collective bargaining, it's not only the jurisdiction of the provincial government, but the provincial government, wherever you engage with your counterparts at the national level, make sure that you talk to them. Because there's a question that has not been answered to workers. The question that has not been answered, it's a question that says, if you sign a collective agreement in 2018 for 3 years, ungakopheli 3 years, ayisekho imali, ishonephi imali yabasebenzi? The court has not responded to that question. No one has responded to that question. We know it's beyond our government, but here in KZN, we want to resolve on that. But we also further want to resolve because we know that currently in the SOEs, there are negotiations that are taking place. We know in TIKZN there are negotiations. We know in other SOEs there are negotiations. In SARS there are negotiations. We want to say, we want our provincial government to talk to those SOEs and tell them to give money to workers because the cost of living is rising every day. On the issue of reconstruction and on the issue of the economy and the jobs, we want to say we need to tighten on the issue of investment attraction. We want to send the government of KZN, please go deal with those issues that are reflecting on the reconstruction and recovery plan, as they call them, is local constraints or risks. Some of the local constraints and risks that are actually chasing away investment are issues of crime and corruption. Sometimes you hear that sekuyakhompiswa nge-bribery. And those are the issues that are chasing away investment. Issues that are also chasing away investment are the questions of instability. So we are saying that we need the government of KZN to prioritize those issues on the reconstruction and development so that we are able to attract investment. But investment must not just come in vain. Investment must create jobs, and not just jobs, must create decent jobs, because the challenge that you have here in the province is that today you are told 81,000 jobs are created, but the problem, those jobs that are created are on the short-term basis. Workers are employed today. In 3 months, 6 months, they are no longer in employment. On jobs, we want to emphasize our resolute as workers that let us create decent jobs where workers can work and have job security. That's what we want to advance on the issues of job creation. And the investors that are coming here must be clear on that one. The last issue that we want to raise as COSATU, ngiyazithayima nami njalo sihlanu. Ngiyazazi ungisalelo ba. On the issue, comrades, which is the main issue that we want to raise, we have raised a number of issues and we are going to come back to deliver the resolutions as well. We'll be closing. But the issue that we want to raise is on the implementation of our Workers' Parliament resolution. As COSATU, we have made an observation, comrade, of the nature and quality of reports on the resolutions taken in the previous parliaments and their implementation. Our conclusive view, comrade, is that some of these reports do not serve justice to the issues that are raised by workers. Comrades, sometimes when we come and report as government, I think we're doing what you call box ticking. Sometimes you report on your ordinary government activities and don't speak to the crucial resolution that you have taken. I want to make an example. In the previous parliament, comrade, we resolved in a resolute manner that workers in Newcastle, workers in Oak, workers in King Cechwa must be brought back. Go to your document and read the report there. Where issues are burning, sometimes government decide to keep quiet on those issues and don't say anything. And this must come to an end, comrades. Comrades, when we take resolutions, today is 22, is year 22. We're taking resolution on the issues and the plights that are bordering workers on the floor. And it's serious, comrades. We spoke about job summit in 2019 Workers' Parliament. We're 2020 Workers' Parliament, 2021 Workers' Parliament. It's 2022 Workers' Parliament, comrades. Still, even today, that job summit has never been convened. We think, comrade, that the government sometimes, when they respond to our resolution, they tell us what they want us to hear, not what we want to hear, comrade, in terms of the resolution that we have taken. And we are saying, comrades, moving forward to the next parliament, as workers, we are going to commit ourselves to make sure that all the 3 federations have what you call the monitoring and evaluation task team that will make sure when we say workers must come back in Newcastle, we come with a concrete report why workers cannot come back, not something that will tell us, comrade, that government has employed people without giving account to the issues that we have raised. So we are saying, comrades, the committee that we once spoke of, which must sit in between the Workers' Parliament to make sure that issues that have been resolved here are being implemented, it must sit within a month from this Workers' Parliament so that when we come back, we have reports that are qualitative, reports that are dealing with our issues. Thank you very much, Chair. Siyabonga.
Siyabonga kakhulu wona bonke abathe representing their unions. Siyabonga. Ngiyafisa ukusho ukuthi sibe sesithi of ukufika entweni yama resolutions ukuthi ke 20 minutes hlangana a caucus whereby azobuya back sesiza ekwi-part yama resolutions. Ngicela ke si-agene for 20 minutes but in 20 minutes time ke sobe sesicela ukuthi sibuye sesiza sizodila nento yama resolutions. Siyabonga.
Sure, thanks.
Oh, can you? Yeah.